Welcome to Safe Spaces and Green Spaces, a special segment of the Daily Parks and Rec Show, where we explore mental health, well-being, and the positive impact parks and recreation have on building stronger, healthier communities. Hosted by Thomas White, join us every first Wednesday of the month at 1:30 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations, real stories, and practical insights that help create safe places for everyone. In this episode, Lori Harris shares insights on mental health, neurodiversity, and creating supportive workplaces where people can thrive.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Safe Spaces in Green Spaces. I am Thomas White. I am the host of the show. This is where we bring parks and rec professionals, mental health professionals, local government professionals, and anyone, stakeholders and family members, and anyone that even touches this field. We bring everybody together to talk about the real, unedited, raw struggles that we face every day. And I'm not talking about the struggles that you get from your job or the public or anything like that. This is about the internal struggles, the mental health struggles that we have, and how we can create an environment in parks and recreation where people feel supported and they feel that they're okay to be themselves. They're okay to have their mental health struggles. We're taking on the stigma and breaking it down. Thank you so much to DPRS Media Co. and Craig LeBlanc for allowing us to have this platform to share about these issues. Really, this is how change is made. It's all about us coming to the table, being honest, and speaking to ourselves. Today, we're going to have Lori Harris, the president of Superpowers for Good. She's going to be breaking down her thoughts and what she has seen since she has been working with the Parks and Rec world. Not to mention a long, long career. But first, let's check out the new promo video.
It didn't start with a big studio. It didn't start with a massive audience. It started with a simple idea. One conversation, one camera, one episode. Back then, DPRS Media Network was just a vision. No guarantees, no roadmap, just a purpose. To tell stories that mattered. Stories from the parks and recreation community. Stories of leadership, passion, impact, and the people making a difference every single day. Episode by episode, that vision began to grow. More conversations, more voices, more people who believed in what we were building. What started as a show became something much bigger. A place where people felt seen. A place where ideas were shared. A place where the Parks and Rec community could connect, learn, and inspire one another. And today, we celebrate a major milestone. 500 episodes. 500 stories, 500 moments, 500 reasons to keep moving forward. But this is not the finish line. This is the beginning of our next chapter. In the months ahead and in the years to come, DPRS Media Network is growing into something even greater. We are building something truly special for the parks and recreation community. Something designed to bring people closer, to create stronger connections, to open new opportunities, and to continue serving the people who inspire everything we do. We are also expanding our reach through new partnerships. working with organizations who believe in our mission, partners who share our vision for community, leadership, and impact. And beyond the screen, we're showing up in more places than ever before, attending conferences, meeting leaders face-to-face, building connections that strengthen our community. Because DPRS has never been just about content. It has always been about connection. To everyone who has been with us, from episode 1 to episode 500, thank you. This milestone belongs to all of you. Here's to how it all started. And here's to everything still to come. The future of DPRS Media Network starts now.
Wow, that was an awesome promo. I love it every time I see it. So, everybody, we usually have Joby backstage with us, but today we have the big man himself, the doorman, Craig LeBlanc, backstage. Maybe if we put enough peer pressure on him, he'll say hello at some point. So, anyway, Lori Harris, Superpowers for Good. At this point, we go way back. We've been working for a little while now. Tell us about you.
Oh gosh. So a very eclectic background. Came to Henry County 13 years ago. Went to work for a nonprofit in the special needs community. Ended up starting and running a special needs school for 5 years before I found the program that we do at Superpowers for Good. And now I work with children and adults who struggle a little bit. Sometimes it's with behavior, sometimes it's regulation, sometimes it's learning struggles. But we take a look at them and we see what's missing really in their developmental gaps, and we go back and we fix those, and we get successful students and adults who go on with their lives and do really well.
Yeah, so we actually met before I worked in Parks and Recreation at the school. If I believe I was supposed to, I had a death in the family and couldn't actually do it the day of, or the day before I had the death in the family, couldn't actually do it the day of, but I was supposed to walk around the square in McDonough in heels, I believe.
That's right, the high heel race.
Yes,
Walk a mile in our shoes. Yeah, that was a fundraiser that we did. And we would go out and challenge men in our community to throw on high heels. And these high heels, of course, they would get like a walkathon, right? So they would get people to,
right.
And they would come in and turn the money, and then they had to walk a mile. I think it was actually 1.2 miles.
You didn't tell me about the 0.2 miles. You just said the mile.
We kept that
0.2 I didn't know about.
You didn't show up anyway.
Okay, that's fair.
Anyway, it was really great. We had Billy Copeland, who's the mayor here, and I forget how old he was. He was like 88 or something. And
he put on heels and walked around?
He did. He put on these beautifully bright red shoes, and he made it as far as, I'm not sure. There was a certain point to it he made it, and then he pulled them off and put on his tennis shoes and he walked. But I mean, gosh,
he is easily the most active octogenarian I've ever met. Well, actually, he's in his 90s now, so easily and he was still mayor at the time.
He was, and we had all kinds of people. Just even Brian Strickland came, and he had them on, and David Curry, and we had a lot of people in the government and big people in the community come in, and it was nice because the big goal behind that was not so we'd see a bunch of guys running around in high heels, but to help moms of special needs children realize that people were here and they were ready to support them. And so it still goes on. I'm not in charge there anymore, but that walk still happens every year. So have an opportunity to do it next year.
Funny enough, the person that recommended me for the walk, is he still executive director, Don Dunlap?
He is not. He recently left.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I was about to say he was the executive director, but my wife took great pleasure in picking out the right heels for me. She wanted to make this for all it's worth. So the heel was like this and very narrow. And all I could think about was hitting one of those cracks in the sidewalk and just going down. But it was a great cause. You started the school. Tell us about the school.
So it was a special needs, a school for children with special needs. We worked particularly with autism, but we had other children there, hydrocephalus, ODD children, lots of ADHD kids, some other things, but the most of them were like autism and ADHD. And so we brought them in. Our World School is still around. It's here in Henry County. And when I was there, and I think it's very, very similar still, it was a 7-to-2 ratio. So if we did have one kid that was, or one classroom that was higher functioning that had 10 kids in it to 2 adults, some of them had 3. It just depended on what the child needed or the children needed. But yeah, we worked with children with special needs. There were no neurotypical kids there.
Right. So you went from the school to what you're doing now. Tell us about that transition. And I'm getting to a point with this. So
okay. Remind me to tell you what you said to me out in the parking lot one day when you came in.
I honestly do not remember. So feel free to disclose on the show. I'm good with it. Feel free to disclose.
So I think everybody here knows, I think you talk a lot about having ADHD.
Yes.
And it was funny because I was talking to you because at that time in 2019, my son actually had gone through this program that I do now. And he had done it a long time ago in Michigan at a school. We were just very fortunate to find this program that he needed. And he was absolutely incredibly successful. He went from really struggling to learn to graduating from high school with 62 transferable credit hours to Georgia Tech.
Oh, nice.
Mechanical engineer. He's going through getting his master's in AI robotics or intelligent robotics now. And he speaks 6 languages, right? And they're not even like, it's not French, Spanish, Italian that are all kind of similar. It's German, Spanish, Japanese. I mean, it's like he became a successful learner, even though he was struggling when he was little. And I was talking to you about this different program, and I kept talking about these different things, and you're like, oh my God, it's almost like you're talking to me. And I'm like, let's talk. Anyway, yeah. So it was like you recognized some of the things that I was saying in you and the behaviors that you did, and I remember that still.
100%. And that was before I took any medication for it or anything like that, or took any exercises. So I'm surprised that I was able to pay attention through the entire conversation on it. So,
well, I wasn't good at it.
Yeah, I've gotten really good at of course it's not intentional, but I'll zone out in a conversation. I've gotten really good at picking back up with something generic. We
call that a 7-second recall.
Yeah, the people that work with me, it's a source of entertainment for them.
I bet.
And I do these quick meetings. Whenever we have a meeting, I'm in, I'm out. I want to know what it is. We exit, and so my staff is constantly like, "Wait, we're not done yet." I'm like, "What else do we have to talk about?"
Did you give me the bullet points or not? I need the bullet points. That's it, right?
Yep,
that's
it.
Gone.
Yeah. That's it. Because if you take me any longer than that, I'm probably not going to pay attention to it. I'm sorry. So I've been out of town for the past 3 days at the GRPA Board of Trustees meeting, and apparently I left my cat inside the office just now when I got in here. So you may see a tail or a face pop over every now and then.
That's awesome.
I did not realize the cat was in here when I closed the office door. I closed the door trying to keep the cats out, but one managed to get in here. So
yeah, that's okay. We know that your cats are your kids. So there you go.
Right, definitely. That's all the kids I tend to have too. So Craig's backstage. He has quite a number of kids, and he may be judging me for that comment, but my kids are just the cats. That's all I got. I am much too selfish for children.
Well, and if you acknowledge it and you own it, that's okay, right?
You know,
So
when you're cognizant of your defaults, that's the first step to recovery. So
yeah, no, I wouldn't call that a fault, but there you go. I'm an empty nester, and I have no problem with that too. I'm really enjoying it. So when go ahead.
You came to Parks and Rec and how you got involved with it, I believe. So Terry Nash is our therapeutic recreation coordinator. For those of you that have seen our other show, The Rec Room, you're familiar with Terry Nash. I'm sorry, she's therapeutic recreation superintendent now, not coordinator. At the time, she was coordinator. And I believe y'all were having a conversation about possibly doing some public classes open to the public to start talking about mental health issues. And that's something that is really, really needed. Yes, the stigma has gone down some in terms, it has lessened some, but it's still holding on. That stigma is clawing to stay in society. So I think these public classes, podcasts like this, the class that you do, all the efforts that you do are crucial to kind of putting the nail in the coffin for that stigma. And until we educate the public more on what a mental health struggle actually is, about what neurodivergence is, we're going to continue to deal with some of that. But anyway, so you wanted to start the classes, and we started with, I don't remember what was the one we started with. Go ahead.
Oh shoot, I don't even remember the one we started with anymore, but it could have been ADHD. It's pretty prevalent. Most people everybody knows somebody with ADHD, right? You can't throw a stick and not hit somebody with ADHD. And
there's a very high number of Parks and Rec employees, at least compared to other sectors, that are neurodivergent, and ADHD is the number one, I would say. This career field speaks to us. So your audience right now, there's a good chance that they're either ADHD or share an office with somebody that is.
So there you go. And so the really cool thing about ADHD is that we know, and this is gonna sound weird, but we know how to, one, identify the problems, and then two, go back and help the person fix the problem so they don't have to have medication and they don't have to have these compensatory strategies. And it comes down to capacity, your brain's capacity. And capacity is it's energy, it's the body's energy, it's ATP, but it's energy that your body and your brain use to be able to do this. So if you think of energy as capacity and your body isn't producing all of the energy, or you're consuming through eye movement or body regulation or all of the things that you're doing, you're consuming too much, your capacity just is lower than anybody else's. And so you may have a day that you just have a lot of energy and your capacity is like through the roof and you're making all kinds of things, and you might even have a week of that. And then all of a sudden you don't have the energy anymore or the capacity anymore. And now, boom, the person that's like on fire most days, you wonder what in the world is going on with them. It's not.
There are days that I will briefly run home and just take a nap, or go to my truck and just take a nap because my energy just disappears.
Yep.
And I wake up and it's like I'm reset. It's like I'm reset and the energy's flowing again. And
yeah. So what I do at Superpowers for Good is we look at 4 things, right? So we say hidden in plain sight. So hidden in plain sight, there are 4 things: behavior, challenges, and learning capacities all pretty much go to the same 4 things. Primitive reflexes that aren't integrated, which seems weird when we're talking to adults, but a lot of them don't have their primitive reflexes integrated, and they've created compensatory strategies.
I'm going to ask you to expand on those primitive reflexes in just a moment.
I will. And then mind-body awareness, and then ocular motor skills, and then how we use the visual system. So if you think of it as stairs or levels, the first thing that we have are primitive reflexes. And if we don't have our primitive reflexes integrated, our brain, in terms of brain development, our brain still has to develop. It still has to go up to the next level. And so it's going to move to the next level, which is mind-body awareness. But if our primitive reflexes, which is our nervous system, and involuntary movements don't integrate first, now our brain has to try to manage developing the mind-body awareness and the primitive reflexes that aren't already integrated. And our brain has a hard time with that. And so it starts to create strategies to be able to make those things happen.
And so what is that integration? I'm sorry, go ahead, because I have followed.
Let me give you the big picture and then I'll go back and give you the details. So then the third level is your ocular motor skills. And again, same thing. It's going to have a harder time developing this area if these two aren't in place. And then finally, your visual system. So how does that work? When we are in utero and getting ready to be born, infants who are not in the face down, head down position, the normal birthing position, we already know that development is delayed. And we know that because balance is the first primitive reflex that we get. And that's the baby's first job, is to make sure they're in the right birthing position. And so balance is huge. Then we go out, we come out, and there are a lot of different primitive reflexes. We look at 7. So the first one is the Moro reflex. This is the startle reflex. So everybody has seen this except for maybe Thomas, because he doesn't have kids. But you're rocking the baby falls asleep, and you go to put the baby down and it goes like this, right? You get this startle. So it's the startle reflex. So when we have kids that have behavior problems or regulation problems, this is the first place we look. We look to see if this has been integrated, because there is a strong correlation between this primitive reflex and the nervous system being on fire 24/7. So easy meltdowns, big emotions. Then we look at spinal galant. So this is along the spine, and it helps us roll over and get our hips underneath us for crawling when we're infants, right? Crawling is really important because it helps us with convergence, divergence, ocular motor skills. And if that's not, there's a strong correlate to fidgeting, to bedwetting after 4, bladder control. And so this is a really strong thing that we need to look at. Then there's the asymmetric tonic neck reflex. That splits your body awareness between right and left. So we see a lot of correlates between not being able to cross the midline or B's and D's, so dyslexia, right? When they're reading, we see some bilateral issues with the eye movements. The STNR, symmetric tonic neck reflex, top and bottom, right? How do you do jumping jacks? Can you make them go at the same time? How do you do snow angels? We see a lot of correlates with that too. This is called the learning reflex. So you'll see kids that like wrap themselves around the chair and lean back, and they can't make that work. Or the kid that lumbers through the hallway, they call it an ape-like walk, where they're looking up underneath their eyebrows. And then you have the TLR, the tonic labyrinthine, which is your body awareness that separates front and back. So we look at that, and then the Palmer, that's hand mouth. We look at the VOR, which is the vestibular ocular reflex. So when we have kids that get vertigo or anything like that, balance is really off, they can't manage it. The VOR connects the vestibular system to the ocular system. So if these things are not in place, if they're not under control, then the very stable part, the very foundation is not stable. But our brain's going to move up, right, to mind-body awareness. So that's when your vestibular system comes in, your interoception, that's how your body feels, being able to understand when you're too hot, too cold, you feel sick to your stomach, you're breathing hard, and proprioception, which in Parks and Rec is really big. That's when your joints and tendons tell you where you are in space. So it helps you stabilize, and then you learn to copy, right? So we see a lot of kids that can't even copy simple body movements. They'll mix them up. I might lift my arm up this way and then out this way and then kick my foot forward and have the kid do it. And they may not remember the sequence, or they may do it with the opposite hand. So then that goes to One of the hierarchies is gross motor, then fine motor, and then finally ocular motor, because there are 12 muscles around each of your eyes, and that helps you control your eyeballs. Your eyeballs need to be working properly so that you can read, so that you can learn, and then your visual system, when your ocular motor skills are working properly, you create imagery, and that is the moment of knowing. And your visual system is very, very important with also learning, but moving through life. And so, you've got your central field, which is color and detail, and then your your periphery field, which is movement, big picture, black and white. And so we live probably 80-85% out here with confirmatory glances into the central field. And when we don't do that, we have a problem with creating imagery, which is how we learn, and just moving through space and time, and anxiety or meltdowns, because this is the system that helps protect us against those things. I can't hear you.
Sorry, my cat started fighting halfway through, and I didn't want to. Apparently, the other one's in here too. So, at the base of all this, and that was a lot of information, but I'm getting to a point with it. At the base of all this, what is causing the lack of integration? And for an example, I know ADHD is usually, it's either injury to the prefrontal cortex or underdevelopment of the prefrontal cortex. In my case, I was born with it. It was underdevelopment of the prefrontal cortex. However, I did have an injury later on that exacerbated it, a traumatic brain injury in 2017 that exacerbated it. But what is the basis of all this? What is causing the failure in integration, starting with the primitive reflex?
So it can be a lot of things. It could be organic, but typically what we're seeing is that movement is what helps integrate primitive reflexes. Mm-hmm. Slow, rhythmic movements. And so movements on the playground, swinging, integrates the STNR. Climbing up the slide backwards and then going down the slide works the Moro. There are swimming, just swimming works TLR because you have to know the top and the bottom. It works the STNR because you have to know, the front and the back. The STNR because you're using both the top and the bottom of your body, and then the ATNR because you're going like this, right? So it's one at a time. Mm-hmm. And so movement is the biggest thing. And for so many of us, we are not sending our kids out to play like we used to. When I was a kid, and when you were a kid, because I think we're pretty close to the same age, mm-hmm. we didn't stay inside.
No, I roamed through. I grew up on a farm in South Georgia. I roamed through wood. It's a miracle that I never stepped on a rattlesnake or something. It is a miracle.
I think the world is a lot less dangerous place than we think it is. But yeah, right. I went outside. I got up in the summer. I did my chores, which, probably took me all of 15 minutes because my mom wanted us all out the door too. There were 5 of us plus all my cousins, right? And we would get kicked out the door right after breakfast.
Yep.
And we were outside. And I was fortunate enough to live on the water. So, I swam, I fished, I did all this stuff. But we would set up neighborhood Olympics and football and baseball, and we rode bikes, and there was nothing to stop us physically. Like, we were out all the time, so we moved,
right?
And we didn't have those problems. We were able to develop our bodies that were then able to develop the higher systems, and we didn't have the problems back then that we have now. But now you see little babies. I was at a restaurant yesterday, and there was a baby that couldn't have been 1, and the baby had the phone and, was doing stuff on the phone and watching the phone or a movie. And, we really shouldn't have tablets for kids or even laptops or computers until they're about 9. They should be
it kind of makes you think, like we're about to go to break. but I want to set up for the second half. It kind of makes you think, where are we going to be in terms of evolution a few hundred years from now, that we're becoming more and more dependent on that, because our bodies adapt. Humans are meant to adapt. Animals are meant to adapt. And as you adapt genetically, you can begin to change. So where are we going to be at in a few hundred years from now? And it almost points to a less physically capable change. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it is something to think about. So we are about to go to break, and then we're going to come right back with Lori, and we're going to talk about how to create a professional environment in which people's differences, their mental health differences, their neurodivergence is respected, and people can be themselves. Let's go to break.
In today's parks and recreation industry, communication, safety, and efficiency go hand in hand. That's where Outdoor Link comes in, delivering smart technology that empowers city departments and community planners to do more, smarter. Outdoor Link's platform connects and automates everything that keeps your parks running smoothly, from lighting and locks to signage, water features, Wi-Fi, and digital advertising. Control and schedule park lights for safety and energy savings. Remotely manage facility access. Coordinate fountains and splash pads. Provide public connectivity. All from one simple, unified platform, giving you real-time control, data, and cost efficiency. For parks and recreation agencies, that means safer spaces, smarter resource use, faster responses, and stronger community engagement. And behind every great park story is great infrastructure. That's why Outdoor Link proudly supports DPRS Media Company, helping the Daily Parks and Rec Show amplify the voices of professionals shaping our communities every day. Outdoor Link, smart, connected solutions for parks, recreation, and beyond.
They say it's just rec. Just rec, where kids learn to try again. Just rec, where confidence begins. Where teamwork, effort, and fun matter more than trophies. It's not about perfection. It's about participation. It's not just rec. It's where kids learn to love the game and themselves. It's just rec until they learn teamwork for life. It's just rec, but it's everything to them. It's more than rec. It's a movement. It's just rec until you realize it's shaping the next generation. Together, we're not just running programs. We're building a culture of confidence, connection, and community. Join us.
So we are back. Great break there. That was the first time I saw It's Just Rec promo there. Craig, that was awesome. But yeah, so let's go back to what we were talking about. So I asked those questions at the end because I'm trying to illustrate a point. There's a stigma when it comes to mental health, and especially in the workplace. But that stigma isn't really there when we talk about physical disabilities. Like if you're in a wheelchair, you may be hard of hearing, you may have trouble seeing. People are still looked at as completely capable. They're not automatically demonized, so to speak. But in some workplaces, if you mention that you have a mental health issue, even though it is caused by something physical is causing it, whether it's the underdevelopment, traumatic brain injury, something physical is causing it, the stigma automatically comes up. Suddenly people are staying away from them. They're not wanting to talk to them. They're not trusting them with certain information and that sort of thing. Why do you think that is?
I think it's very clear that the reason that they do that is because they don't understand what it actually is. And I think that once people understand that there is a neurological development that goes on with your body and your brain. Right. And sometimes those things just get skipped for whatever reason. And it could be physical, it could be PTSD that affects a lot of people. It could be that literally your capacity just isn't there. And that's what it really ends up boiling down to, is there are certain levels and there's always something. If you've got a person with a problem, there's something going on underneath. And so people need to understand that, number one, and then two, to help in the workplace, if people understood how to figure out which system isn't working for that person that day, they could be a lot more supportive in terms of actual efficacy than they are just by saying, oh, I'm sorry you're having a bad day, right? So I think it just all goes down to understanding. You know, our brain uses a lot of energy. It is 2% of our body weight, but it requires 20% of our body's energy to run.
Wow.
And so it's a big deal. And the more we don't have these 4 layers put together, the more energy it takes for a person who is neurodivergent to run their body, because they're running it inefficiently. And so
that energy has to be diverted from something else to do that.
Yeah. I mean, you can't, if you have, it's like your iPhone, you have 100% battery. You wake up in the morning if it's been charging all night. And if you're running one thing, that battery is going to last you a while. If you're running 50,000 tabs open because you forget to turn them off, right? Like I do. Right. You're going to burn
I have 38 open on my phone right now. I was just noticing that.
Yeah, well, every once in a while I go back and look and go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I had 50 tabs open. No wonder my batteries, but it's the same concept. If you've got 50 tabs going instead of one, you're going to burn through the energy that you have available to you.
Right.
I really just believe it's it really is understanding what is going on with that person.
I agree with you 100%. And so that's the point of this podcast is, yes, educating, but it's also to help professionals understand the importance of creating a space in which people can, that works. Yes. Sorry, Craig sent a message, but the importance of having a space in which people can be honest about what they go through, in which we can talk about different mental health issues. Parks and Rec is primed to do that already because a lot of us have our therapeutic recreation programs. And so it's natural for us to be more open to it. What would you say? Let's say a department wants to start a program in which they're educating their staff, in which they're making an open environment. You actually started a school for those with neurodivergence and different issues. So tell me, what do you think that a department can do to start that? Not start a school, but start making the conversation open.
So education for them, understanding what's actually going on is going to be key. So I would say call me because I can help you with that. Secondly,
Lori Harris, Superpowers for Good.
That's right. And we actually can put together, we train people anyway. We go out and train educators and parents and Parks and Rec individuals all the time. So it'd be easy to put together that program. But, a lot of it is going to be on even the daily things that you do. Capacity is really a big deal. So again, let's talk about flexible schedules. All right. So I don't mean you can come in at 10 one day and at 7 one day and, whatever, let's just float through life, on a whim. No, that's not what I'm talking about. But flexible schedules can certainly be set for people who can really burn a lot of energy one day, but then the next day they just can't. And so those big energy consuming projects, might be really good for that person on this day, and then something a little bit more low key on the day that they need to just dive bomb, right? And then they can go back after they kind of reset. They can go back and start on these big energy intensive programs again. So flexible schedules that way, I think, would be a good thing to incorporate. Task design. Oh my gosh, if you have a person who is really good at social interactions, and then you've got a person who isn't good at social interactions because it just requires too much energy for them, these would be your introverts. Putting them in a position where they have to do a lot of social interaction is not the good thing to do. I mean, that's going to burn somebody out in a hurry. And I would go ahead right now and say burnout is not about working too many hours or too long. It's about working beyond your capacity.
Wow, I think you just created a soundbite for us right there. Make sure we get it right. Burnout is not about working too many hours. It's about working beyond your capacity.
That's right.
Soundbite, and I'm using that in an article this week. I'm going to attribute it to Lori Harris.
Oh, great. So, yeah. So, you know, I may work 60 hours this week, but it's all on something that I just really love, and it's a project that I'm working on. I just really want to get it done. And so that 60 hours is no big deal for me. I mean, I might get tired, but it's not going to be a big deal for me. But if I have to spend that same 60 hours on something that I hate or that I'm not good at or I can't manage for some reason, that 60 hours is going to be torture.
Right.
And so that's what that's about. Environmental control.
Right.
Sometimes it's too loud for somebody, and it takes too much it's too much information coming in, and they can't manage all of that sensory information. Take the noise away. Put them in a quiet environment. Or maybe somebody can't work in a quiet environment. They need to have some heavy metal going on in the back so that they can function, and they can like have that little wheel in the back of their head, you know, the little hamster running back there. It's fine. It's good. The little hamster's doing its job. Now I can focus on this. Right. So environmental control would be good. Peer support. When you have other people in your office who actually get it, who actually understand what you're going through, because they've learned how these things work on these underlying foundational development works, it's different than having somebody coming in and going, oh, I'm really sorry you're going through that. And, you know, and you hear bless your heart after that. And for all of you who aren't Southern, bless your heart is not necessarily a nice thing here.
Right. Right.
I mean, you're stupid.
There's a lot of judgment in bless your heart.
There is a lot of judgment in bless your heart. So, you know, there's a difference between somebody getting it. You know, like if I call you and I say, hey, Thomas, are you okay? You know that I'm really concerned about you because we're friends and you have that experience with me. That's way different than having somebody else.
That's assuming that I answer the phone, because lately I've been terrible about answering the phone. So that's assuming I answer the phone. Okay,
so that'll be a quick text, answer the phone, right?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, or, you know, I've had friends, now these are not coworkers, but it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they're great friends, but all of a sudden they're just not answering your phone call, and they're not responding to your text, and you're thinking, what in the world? You know, and I literally had a friend that did that. I'm trying to reach her, and I'm like, hey, I hope you're okay. And she came back a couple of months later. She finally called me and she said, you know, thank you for calling me. Thank you for not giving up on me. I was literally laying in bed and couldn't get up, and I didn't want to talk to anybody, but you kept calling. And even though I didn't answer you, she's like, all my other friends just kind of flew off, and they didn't, after a while, they just didn't call.
Soundbite number two. You kept calling. Soundbite number 2.
Yep. And then I had a really good friend who once said, if you think about somebody more than like 3 times in just a couple of days, pick up the phone and call them and make sure they're okay. And, you know, and so I do. I mean, if I'm thinking about somebody and they keep crossing my mind, I'll go ahead and just shoot them a quick text and say, hey, hope you're okay. Let me know if you need anything. And that's
I firmly believe that our brain, we may not be consciously thinking about something, but I firmly believe our brain will send its signals because it's worked something out that we're just not consciously aware of. And so you've thought about that person 3 times. There's a reason you have thought about that person. People will talk about signs and things like that. I think it's our brain processing that, hey, something's not right. You need to deal with it.
Yeah. And I don't know what it is, because it could be those signals. It could be the energy that we put off and then we're picking up on it. That's the brain picking up on it. But I kind of, since I heard that, I really do pay attention to that. And so I will reach out to somebody that I've been thinking about just to make sure. And a lot of times they're just fine. But then every once in a while you get a, wow, thanks for calling. I've had a really bad day. It was nice to hear from you, kind of thing. So yeah, that's good. So there are kinds of things that you can do. The other thing you can do is really figure out what systems these people have deficits in. And when you figure out what the systems those are, there are things that you can do. There are fun games that you can play in the office. One of the things that I would play with you, if I worked in your office, I would have koosh balls on my desk. And if you were having a bad day, I would come in and say, hey, Thomas, can you play with me? And we would play double koosh ball, because it actually pulls your attention out. You with ADHD tend to focus here. Yes. It's harder for you to come out here and be here. But this is where your lifeline is, right? For you, that's where your life, well, for everybody, but that's where your And so I would have on hand juggling scarves and koosh balls and different little quick games. It doesn't take a lot to come in and play with somebody who is really struggling, to kind of pull them back out and give them a new perspective, instead of just being so collapsed into here and not being able to handle the sensory stress that's coming in at you. Sure. So that's something that I would do anywhere, including.
Speaking on this, I can see real world evidence on how all this would work in the workplace, because I've always been a high achiever no matter where I worked. When I was with the prison, when I sold cars for 3 months right out of college, when I worked in a hardware store in high school, I've always been a high performer because I always had the good work ethic and everything. But it's another level at Parks and Rec, and I really think it's because of the flexibility in my schedule. Like I said, there are days that I'll run home for a minute and just take a nap, because I'll get exhausted. The energy will just disappear. But and they work with me on that. My schedule is very flexible for that reason, and that means that I'm performing at a very high level most of the time. But when I need it, I leave for a second. And I'm coming back. And so I've tried to institute that with all my staff too. Now, for the most part, we all still try to keep to the 8 to 5 and everything, but there's flexibility there. Yeah. Another thing, talking about pulling it out and the systems, and it's something that I've noticed more and more recently. I am extroverted. I am a social person, but I think it can be too much sometimes. And so it burns me down very quickly. If I'm at a conference and I've spoken several times that day at the conference, I will leave and disappear into my hotel room, and no one will see me the rest of the night, because I just need to be quiet. And now my team has gotten used to that. At first they were like, what's wrong? Where are you going? Now they're used to it. In fact, Brian, I don't know if you met Brian Dixon or not. We're going to Orlando in a couple of months for a conference down there. And Brian said, I have no problem going to you. I know we're going to be good throughout the day. I know you're going to disappear in the afternoon for a few hours. I know you're going to come back and we're going to have dinner, and it's going to be fine. It's like, yes, you know me very well, Brian. People are starting to figure that out. Yeah. So that's real world evidence of it. And I think if we had more departments that were willing, that are not trying to make people force 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 or whatever their forced thing is, and they would wind up having a more effective work environment, a more effective workforce. I turned down a job making $30,000 more a year because I didn't want to give this up. Like, that's how important it is. Yeah. Because it was better than the money, you know? Yeah.
And it's important to make sure that you are making good choices for yourself. And so, you know, if somebody's not happy in a job, I would say start looking for another job and then move and get into a place where you can be happy or where you can have the things that you need. I am very fortunate. I work with kids. I work in my office. I go out and I speak. And, just like you, I am very much an extrovert. But after a day of speaking or after a day of being at a conference, I come home and my husband's like, well, did it go well? And I'm like, yeah, it went great. And he's like, then why do you look so sad? And it's like, because it depletes my energy.
It really does.
It really sucks all of my energy out of me. And I'm okay, just fine. I will stay on as long as I need to stay on, because that's what it is. I mean, you are on stage, you are doing these things, you have to think and talk, but you have to just constantly move and think. And sometimes, at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I don't have to be on anymore. I can go home and hide. And that is
literally, that's what I will do. I will sit there and do nothing. Just do
I get it. Me too.
Nothing.
Yeah. And I love almost every aspect of my job. There are a couple that I don't like. Sometimes you got to do a couple things you don't like. But for the most part, I mean, I love my job, and yet there are some days, you just
speaking of people that really love their job. The guy who formed this media company, DPRS Media Co., is about to come on and join us. Craig Orman LeBlanc.
How's it going? I'm loving the show.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate you being willing to come on.
Yeah.
Because we love to see Craig's face around here. He is.
Oh, you have such a great smile.
Yeah, I've been smiling since I was a little kid.
Yeah,
that's good.
I think it was
the beard covers the dimple marks that are there that you can't see from just smiling.
Yeah, but it really is such an important topic that y'all have been covering, and me and Lori were kind of talking offline about how difficult it is to save people from drowning when you're drowning, and I actually just recently got into self-care. It took me 50 years to start learning how to care for myself.
Right. I've convinced myself that I'm doing self-care, but my wife says, no, you're not. You've got to start doing something different.
Yeah.
So working on that. Meditation, I have found out, has been a big thing for me recently. Meditation.
Yeah.
And that's really been a big help in Taekwondo. So what did you think of that episode, Greg? What do you think so far?
Good. Well, I think just Lori's whole field of study, I think, is coming into, I think it's almost coming into a great, I don't want to call it maturity, but it's like it's becoming top of mind for more and more people.
Oh, I agree.
Whereas before, it was almost like, I don't know. I remember when I grew up, there was no such thing as any of this stuff.
I remember my father saying things like that's not real and that sort of thing.
Right.
Now he
doesn't. There are people who say it now.
Right. Yeah, now he doesn't say that. But back in the day, ADD, it wasn't ADHD then, it was ADD. And ADD was supposed to be made up and things like that. So
I was hyperactive. That's what they called me, hyperactive.
Hyperactive, yeah.
Yeah,
my husband called me loquacious.
Yeah.
I believe that was the word she used. It was the first large word I knew was loquacious.
Perfect.
And that's because she called me that all the time.
Yeah.
So, Lori, obviously you're going to have to come on again because you've just got so much information to put out there. But what do you want to share with Greg and the rest of the world before we start to end?
Wow, everything, and there's just not enough time. But I think if we're going to walk away today with anything, I think just understanding that capacity matters. So the energy that you have really matters. And it's not just about work, right? Neurodivergent people, it isn't like they're lazy or unmotivated. It's just that sometimes the task actually exceeds their output and they can't do it. And it's the same with these kids, right? So all of these kids that you guys are working with, and I know you work with teenagers, this is across the board. This is from the time they're little until, I literally have in clinic a 67-year-old that I work with. same things, right? ADHD, super embedded, wants to get better. It's all about the foundations. It's all about these hidden layers that your brain has to go through. And we just sometimes miss stuff. And it's not anybody's fault, really, right? Just sometimes we miss stuff. And so if we just look at neurodivergent people with a lot more understanding and try to understand, well, what system is it that's not working, or what multiple systems aren't working right now, we'll have a lot better results.
Sure.
Getting people to do things, helping people understand, matching people with tasks that need to get done, helping children learn, helping children behave, and quite frankly, helping adults regulate, because there's a lot of adults that don't regulate too. So understanding is key.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a question for her.
Okay.
Okay, so I kind of go from conquering the world successfully, and I'm doing great, really big tasks.
That's what I was about to talk to you about. You're already saying it. Okay.
I seem to be handling stuff that 10 people couldn't handle, and then I get totally wiped out and overwhelmed by the tiniest little problem or failure or something. And I've just been like that my whole life, that when I'm doing something big and important, I'm in flow state and I can just do so much, but then something that wouldn't bother anyone else just kind of throws me off. And I'm wondering if you have any idea where that comes from, or
Yeah, that's just your capacity being done. I mean, I'm taking it away from adults for a second, just going back to a kid, right? So we had a kid that had meltdowns all the time. And, you wonder why a kid has a meltdown, because otherwise he's okay. And he's okay until he wasn't okay. So we had in our school 24 cameras. And so we were able to, and they ran all the time, 24/7. So we were able to, when anything happened, go back and look at what happened. So in this particular case, the kid was sitting in the middle of the gym. All the kids were playing. He's on a little therapy ball, and he gets up and he starts walking around the gym. And he picks up a ball and he kicks it against the wall. And then he kicks it again. And then he kicks it again. And you just you see him do that. And then a teacher who was smart enough to see and recognize a pattern in him figured out he was probably having too much information come at him. And so she simply said to him, "Hey, kid," used the name, but, "Hey, kid, I'm going to go work on something. You want to go help me?" And he flipped out and he started kicking her and biting his own hand and, smacking at her. And, now here we are in this full de-escalation restraint mode that we have to manage. And so I'm watching the video and I go to the teacher. I'm like, "What in the world did you say to this kid?" Like, because I'm thinking that's the trigger. And she said, "Well, I just said this." I'm like, okay. So we backed up and backed up and backed up on this video. And it was like 15 minutes prior, something had happened where he wanted to do something and he wasn't able to do it. And so he maintained the regulation that he needed for 15 minutes until somebody asked him something. And typically when an adult asked him a question like that, he figured he was in trouble and he blew up and he couldn't manage it anymore. So it's, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. No, I'm not, right? And it's too much information for the system to manage. It's that one tiny little thing. And so I would have to know, like, what is this failure? And that's what we do, is we go back and we're like, why did this particular thing manage to kick him off this? And there's always a reason, right? There's no purposeless behavior. There's always a reason. But I would go to capacity. You were all the way here, you're doing all this stuff, and then this little thing, you've managed this problem, you've managed this problem, you've managed this problem. And this little tiny toothpick, little pinprick, and it pops your balloon and you were done, right?
Yeah.
Craig, it is so funny that you asked that question, because I was literally about to ask you, Craig, we've had conversations about how your energy is great in the morning, and then the afternoon your energy starts to go away. And Lori and I were just talking about that with me. So I was going to ask, did you feel spoken to in what Lori was saying today? Because that was what happened in our first conversation years ago.
Yeah. And I'm just like, in the mornings, I'm just so creative. And I'm one of these like 2-3 a.m. people. But I will go to bed at 7 and 8 o'clock like nobody's business.
Yeah.
Just because when I'm tired, I just need rest. And now I've
Yeah.
just learned to kind of serve my body in that way.
Right.
Well,
Right.
and the other thing that happens to you during the day, Craig, is all of these stressors come at you. So you're a high producer, and your visual system, here's your central field, here's your periphery, and our periphery really is where regulation is maintained, right? So the longer we can stay out here and manage and be resilient to the things that are coming in, the happier we are. But as you're walking through the day and you have stressors, especially because you're working on this big thing, right? So this little problem that comes in, or this big problem, no big deal. I got it. I got the energy for it. I've got everything. I've got the resilience for it. But as the day goes on, all of those things are starting to add stress. And as you add stress and burn energy, your visual system actually starts to collapse into central field. And when that starts to collapse into central field, all of that information now can come in, and it's got free reign to go in through your brain. And instead of back to the occipital lobe in its normal pattern, it can go straight through the superior colliculus, and poof, it hits your amygdala. And now you've got fight or flight. And depending on how good you are at resilience in managing that fight or flight, depends on how much you get knocked down, right? Because all these things are happening in your body physiologically when that amygdala tickle or fire, depending on it works. So yeah, as you go through the day, it becomes harder and harder for you to manage it because you are doing this. So you need koosh balls too. We need to send him some koosh balls, Thomas.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I have a question for each of y'all, a kind of fun question.
Okay.
This comes from, so one of the traditions we have on the leadership series is the previous guest leaves a question. And so these are two fun. If you're making nachos for yourself, what do you put on them?
Go ahead, Lori.
Nachos. Gosh, so two different kinds. I might put crab meat and some soft, mild cheese. So that might be one. Or I would just go whole hog and jalapenos and cheese and soft meat. Yeah, just load it up.
Right.
That's me.
White American cheese, melted white American cheese with grilled chicken, grilled shrimp, and grilled steak.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah. When I make nachos, I go all out. So I did want to. I know we're kind of over on time, but I just wanted to tell a really funny thing before to end this out. Last episode, I don't remember if it was the Rec Room or Safe Spaces. I don't remember. I think it was Safe Spaces, but someone came up to me afterwards and said, "Why were you frowning the entire episode?" I said, "What are you talking about?" I was smiling most of the time. And so I went back and watched the episode. It turns out that if you look at my beard, it has grayed right here, and it left 2 streaks of dark right here that makes it look like the corners of my mouth have turned down. And so, audience, it looks like I'm constantly frowning. I am not. I'm just getting older, and the gray is taking over. And it just happens to be the pattern, right? I mean, it literally, so it looks like I have frown marks going down the side of my face. I am not frowning, everybody. I love this show because we're really taking on trying to create this environment, speaking directly to agencies and agency professionals about how you can have a unedited, safe space in your green space that can support your staff and bring something great on. Lori, thank you so much. Lori Harris with Superpowers for Good. Thank you so much for coming on. Craig popped in. You want to say anything before we go here, Craig?
Just thank you so much for coming up with this idea and then just running with it and starting. One thing I love about Thomas, and I think more Parks and Rec professionals can learn from him, and maybe Lori can explain why he's this way, but when he wants to do something, it gets done and it's going and he gets started. It's not like, months and weeks of just thinking about it. And he's just a man of action. And I love that about him.
Yeah. The question is whether or not I followed through about halfway through. No, we're doing pretty good with this though. We're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
All right. Join us on June 1st, the first Wednesday of June. I'm sorry, not June 1st, June 3rd for our next episode of Safe Spaces and Green Spaces. Thank y'all.
Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.
In the parks and recreation industry, attention is limited, but influence is everything. Every day, thousands of parks and recreation professionals make critical decisions. Decisions on infrastructure, programs, technology, and vendors. The question is your brand part of that conversation? DPRS Media Network was built to answer that question. We are a dedicated media ecosystem focused exclusively on the parks and recreation industry in the United States. Through a network of daily and weekly shows, we inform, connect, and influence this audience. Our distribution spans multiple platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, plus email campaigns, newsletters, podcasts, and live event coverage. This is not a single-channel strategy. It is a multi-platform media engine. Today, our network reaches over 214,000 connections, including 51,000 on LinkedIn, 64,000 on Facebook, nearly 40,000 email subscribers, and thousands more across podcast and social platforms. While some audiences overlap, our true value is not just reach, it is relevance. We speak directly to parks and recreation directors, program managers, and industry leaders, an audience that is highly targeted and actively engaged. Through DPRS Media Network, your brand integrates seamlessly into this ecosystem. Through sponsored show segments, targeted advertisement placements, podcast features, and host-read promotions, even custom-branded content. Not as interruptions, but as part of the conversation. And we don't just operate online. We attend over 15 major parks and recreation conventions each year, reaching more than 24,000 professionals in person. Through live shows, interviews, and on-site media coverage, we position our partners at the center of the industry. Every piece of content we produce is amplified across our entire network. Multiple shows, multiple hosts, multiple platforms. Your message doesn't appear once, it multiplies. This is more than advertising. It is strategic positioning within a trusted media network built specifically for the parks and recreation industry. If your goal is to reach decision makers, build credibility, and stay top of mind, then it's time to partner with DPRS Media Network. Apply for partnership or sponsorship today. Let's position your brand where the industry is already paying attention. Are you a vendor, brand, or service provider ready to connect with the heartbeat of local communities? At DPRS Media Co., we tell the stories shaping parks and recreation across America. Through podcasts, live streams, videos, and newsletters, we reach frontline leaders, city directors, and decision makers every single week. From youth sports and facilities to programming and policy, our audience is your audience. Sponsoring or partnering with DPRS Media Co. puts your brand in front of the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. Launching a new product, growing your presence in public spaces, targeting cities, counties, or departments, DPRS is your trusted media partner. Whether you're in software, turf, aquatics, robotics, smart cities, or special events, partnering with DPRS puts your brand in the story. With commercials, interviews, social campaigns, newsletters, and live shows, we're your media team. Partner with us and grow your impact in the $200 billion parks and rec industry. DPRS Media Co. Stories that move parks and rec forward. Your audience is here. Let's meet them.